Philadelphia! No, it's fine. That was my Rocky imitation. How'd I do? I almost got the gray jumpsuit and the whole thing. I'm going to tear it off. Underneath there's going to be a blue suit. Hello, Philadelphia. It's so great to see you. Thank you for being patient because we should have been here months ago, but now there's no heat wave and we are back. I just want to give a shout out to AJ and Nikhil, the OGs, the original Yang Gang here in Philadelphia. Help make this happen. Let's give them a round of applause. This campaign is going by leaps and bounds. Some polls just came out today that had me in 4th place in California. Yeah, I was at 7%, which was higher than Kamala Harris in her own state. It made me feel a little bad. This campaign is growing by leaps and bounds, in part because you all know what America's finding out, that I am not a politician, I'm a problem solver, I'm an entrepreneur. People say to me all the time, it's like, you don't sound like any politician I've ever heard before. And they're not complaining. They're not saying, get me a politician immediately. This is great. And I'm running to solve the problems of this time. The biggest problem is, how the heck did Donald Trump become our president? Oh, if you turn on cable news today, why would you think that that man's our president? Russia, racism, Facebook, the FBI, Hillary Clinton, emails, all of this mixture, this cocktail. But I looked at the numbers, and the numbers tell a different story, Philadelphia. The story the numbers tell is this. We automated away 4 million manufacturing jobs in Michigan, Ohio, Wisconsin, and hundreds of thousands right here in Pennsylvania. And if that list of states sounds familiar, those are all the swing states that Donald Trump needed to win and did win in 2016. And now what happened to those jobs, we will now do to the retail jobs, the call center jobs, the fast food jobs, the truck driving jobs, and on through the economy. How many of you have noticed stores closing around where you live here in Philadelphia? And why are those stores closing? Amazon, that's right. Amazon's like this giant $20 billion a year suction, just sucking life out of America's main streets. 30% of stores and malls are closing in the next 4 years. How much did Amazon pay in taxes last year? That's right. Now, how the heck did $1 trillion tech company pay zero in taxes, less than everyone here? How is that possible? And I want you to imagine the scene where all the accountants assemble in the Amazon boardroom and they report to Jeff Bezos and they say, hey, great news, Jeff. We paid zero in taxes again. And then what does Jeff do? Jeff goes to his vault in the back of the room, takes out these giant bags of gold coins, dumps them on the table, and is like, yes, take some. And then they go, yes, Jeff. And they all take their bags of gold coins. They put them in their cars and they drive home, and then they do like a gold coin bath like Scrooge McDuck. And whose fault is it? Is it their fault they're paying zero in taxes? No, whose fault is it? It's our fault. It's our government's fault. It's our leaders' fault. It's Jeff's accountant's job to make sure they pay as little in taxes as possible. And it's our job to make it impossible for them to pay zero in taxes. Am I right, Philadelphia? So this is the plan. We're going to get our fair share of every Amazon sale, every Google search, every Facebook ad, every robot truck mile, and return it here to the American people. That is the plan. We're going to build a trickle-up economy from our people, our families, and our communities up. Now, when you call a customer service line at a big company and you get the bots, the software, what do? You dial 000 until you get a person on the line, right? I do the same thing. But in 2 or 3 years, the software is going to sound like this. Hey, Andrew, how's it going? What can I do for you? It's going to be very effective and delightful, a little bit seductive, apparently. You might not even know it's software. What's that going to mean for the 2.5 million Americans who work in a call center right now and make $14 an hour? I just spoke at a conference of 70 CEOs, and I asked them, how many of you are looking at using software and AI to replace your back office clerical workers? Guess how many hands went up out of 70? All 70, that's right. They all raised their hands. The truth is, they could be fired if they didn't do that deal. How many of you have seen self-serve kiosks when you go into McDonald's? Yeah, every location in the country. 2 years from now. Food service and food prep, the third most common job in the country. And the one I talk about a lot is truck driving. How many of you all know a truck driver? Truckers are being a truck driver is the most common job in 29 states. There are 3.5 million truck drivers in the United States. Average age 49, 94% men. And my friends in California, how many of you all work in technology? Some of you do, I can tell. You have that look to you. That futuristic look. If you work in technology, you probably have friends like I have that are working on self-driving cars and trucks out in California. Some of the smartest people in our country are working on that right now. And why are they working on this problem? For the money. $168 billion a year in cost savings from automating away truck driving. Think about that number for a second. $168 billion a year. That is a staggering amount of money. That is so much money that if you come to a venture capitalist and say, hey, I've got some product that can help speed up the automation of truck driving, it's just going to cost $200 million for me to test it out. And you're an investor, you make that bet because you think, wow, there's this pot of gold of $168 billion a year. If this set of smart people can help make that happen, then I'm going to make a lot of money. That's why we have some of the smartest people working on solving this problem. What is that going to mean for the 3.5 million truckers or the 7 million Americans who work in truck stops, motels, and diners around the country? Donald Trump is not the cause of all of our problems. Donald Trump is a symptom. He's a manifestation. He is a product of the fact that we are going through the greatest economic transformation in our country's history, what experts are calling the fourth industrial revolution. When is the last time you heard a politician say the words fourth industrial revolution? Just now. And I'm barely a politician. He just said getting there. That's the meanest things anyone said to me all day. You can only call me a politician after I'm president of the United States. Then I'll take it. So what is the vision? How are we going to help our fellow citizens? First, wake up to the fact that it is not immigrants causing these problems. It is technology and automation. And that we have to have an economy that actually works for us again. Now, the first time you heard about me in this campaign, you heard something like this. There's an Asian man running for president who wants to give everyone $1,000 a month. You remember that, Philadelphia? I want you to think about the first time you heard that. There's nothing like the first time. And the first time you heard it, you thought it was a gimmick, you thought it was a joke, you thought it would never happen. But the truth is, this is not my idea. This idea has been with the country since our founding. Thomas Paine was for it at the beginning of this country. He called it the citizen's dividend. Martin Luther King fought for it. In his book, Chaos or Community in 1967, he said we need to have a guaranteed minimum income for all Americans. And it is what he was fighting for when he was assassinated in 1968. 1,000 economists, including Milton Friedman, endorsed it in the 60s. It passed the House of Representatives, the U.S. Congress, twice in 1971. And then 11 years later, one state actually passed a dividend where now everyone in that state gets between $1,000 and $2,000 a year, no questions asked. And what state is that? Philadelphia. And how does Alaska pay for it? Oil! And what is the oil of the 21st century? Technology! That's right, technology, software, AI, big data, self-driving cars and trucks. Do you all see the study that our data is now worth more than oil? How many of you saw that? Do you all remember getting your data check in the mail? No, who got our data check? Facebook, Amazon, Google, like they all got the data check. They're profiting to the tune of billions of dollars, and we are seeing zero.
That ain't right.
He said it, I didn't. In Alaska, they call this the oil check, and they love it. We're going to call this the tech check, and all of America is going to love it. So if we make ourselves participants in the incredible gains of the 21st century economy, we can easily afford a $1,000 dividend for everyone here in Philadelphia and everyone around the country, particularly because we know what we're going to do with the money. How are you all going to spend it after I'm president in 2021? You don't need to donate it to Yang, brother. I'm already president in this world. You're going to spend it on the things that you spend it on right now. On food, daycare, though some of you don't look like parents to me, but if you have kids. Daycare, healthcare, student loans, the occasional night out, Little League signups, all the things that make the world go round. A little bit of it would float back up to Amazon and Jeff Bezos, but most of it would stay right here in Philadelphia. This is the trickle-up economy. And as someone who started businesses, how many of you think that we'd see an increase in entrepreneurship and arts and creativity out of the Freedom Dividend? That's right. This is the human-centered economy that revolves around our own goals and values, and there is nothing stopping us from making it happen. Nothing at all. There's nothing stopping a majority of citizens in a democracy from voting ourselves a dividend. That is why what seemed too good to be true at first will become a reality for the country in 2021. This is an era when change can happen very, very quickly, and it's going to take us helping wake up our fellow citizens to what we can do together. So this is the Freedom Dividend, but we can't stop there. How many of you were excited about GDP when you woke up this morning? You were like, I'm going to make a big contribution today. And I talk about my wife who's at home with our boys right now, one of whom is autistic. What is her work included at in GDP every day? Zero. The answer to all my questions is zero. It's funny. But we know that's the opposite of the truth. We know that the work she's doing is among the most challenging and important work that anyone's doing in our society today. And the way we make her work recognized is we actually change the way we measure economic progress. GDP's at record highs, yes. You know what else are at record highs in the United States today? Suicides. Drug overdoses. Depression. Financial stress and insecurity. It has gotten so bad that our life expectancy has declined for the last 3 years in a row. When is the last time America's life expectancy declined for 3 years in a row? The Spanish flu of 1918. That's right, a global pandemic that killed millions. We are back in Spanish flu territory because drug overdoses and suicides have both overtaken vehicle deaths as causes of death in the United States of America. These are the real reasons why Donald Trump is our president. This is the stuff that, for whatever reason, the talking heads on cable news don't talk about. The fact that we have this incredible set of misery that's ripping our communities apart. So the way we home in on the real problems is we actually change our measurements of progress to be health and life expectancy, mental health and freedom from substance abuse, how our children are doing, clean air and clean water. These are the real measurements of success in the 21st century. Even the inventor of GDP, who's a very smart guy, his name is Simon Kuznets, even the inventor of GDP said this is a terrible measurement for national well-being, and we should never use it as that. And here we are, 100 years later, following it off a cliff. And as your president, one of my first duties will be to go down the street to the Bureau of Economic Analysis and say, hey, GDP, really old, kind of out of date, going in the opposite direction of life expectancy. We're going to modernize it and update it to include things like our health and well-being, and then I will present the real numbers to you all at the State of the Union every year. I'll be the first president to use a PowerPoint deck in my State of the Union. Yeah, the PowerPoint chant is out. This is the nerdiest campaign in presidential history. That's funny. Tell my wife that. I'm going to just address a couple of issues in addition to the big few. How many of you owe student loan debt? I'm in the Bernie camp where we have to forgive a ton of that debt and free you all up. And some people look at that and say, why would you make such a dramatic move? Student loan debt is up to over $1.5 trillion in this country, up from less than $100 billion in 1999. Think about that. It's over a 15x increase in that time period. And college has gotten 2.5 times more expensive than when I went to school. I hate to say it has not gotten 2.5 times better. They did not upgrade it. It just got a whole lot more expensive. And so if you're a young person, you feel like you have no choice but to pay that, or your parents say, we have no choice but to take out the loans, and then the government says, it's okay, we'll make the loans available. That's how you get to $1.5 trillion in student loan debt. And it reminds me a little bit of what happened in the United States during the financial crisis. Now, it's a little while ago now, it's like 10, 11 years ago. But in the financial crisis, our leaders had a choice. The choice was bail out the banks or bail out the American people. And what did they choose? Yeah, you all remember voting for the $4 trillion bailout of Wall Street? No! I sure as hell don't. None of us voted on that. We're in the same boat again with $1.5 trillion in student loan debt. And this time we're going to choose our people, right, Philadelphia? If you have a choice between saying to young people, hey, live in your parents' basements and pay off debt for years and years, or go out there and start families, start businesses, move our society forward, that is an easy choice. And I know this in part because I owed $100,000 plus in student loan debt myself in the 2000s. I used to call it my mistress. And I was like paying off some phantom family in another town. I was like, I hope they're having a good time with my $900 a month. I hope they let me visit them sometime. That was probably someone inappropriate. Oh yeah, I was single at the time. So I get it. We have to make the economy work for you all. If we leave our young people in a position, if I was young in this country right now, I'd either be angry or sad. Those are like the only two emotions that are appropriate. And if you're angry, I'm your man, Philadelphia. Because we are leaving you a total shit show, young people. It's true, you look up, you see the problems, you say, why is college so expensive? You graduate from college, 94% of the new jobs created in this economy are temporary gig or contract work that don't have benefits. And somehow we're blaming you for it. It makes no sense. What the heck did you have to do with it? You just showed up. And then the biggest thing is we left you a planet that is getting warmer all around us. I mean, the reason why we had to move back that rally that was scheduled for the summer is that it was literally a 110-degree heat wave, and having people stand outdoors in 110 degrees was going to be unsafe. July was the warmest month in human history. The last 4 years have been the 4 warmest years in recorded human history. So it used to be that I thought climate change was going to be a disaster for the next generation. It turns out the disaster is now. The disaster is here. Now, how many of you watched the Democratic debate last time in Detroit? Wow. If you remember that, I staked out the new third position on climate change. Position number 1, we have to fight climate change. Position number 2, climate change is a hoax. And then position number 3, it is worse than you think. There's a proverb that the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is now. That's where we are on climate change. We should have been doing this 20 years ago, but because we didn't, the best time is now. So we need to reverse the tide on climate change, and it's not enough just to do less of the bad. We need to do more of the good. We need to start actually helping our planet heal. And that means reforesting vast tracts of land, either here in the US or other parts of the world. That means reseeding our oceans with plankton and marine life to try and reverse the incredible decline in... Do you know the Atlantic Ocean is losing 4 to 8% of its biomass every year now? So that's what we have to reverse. It is not about the straws we use or even the composting. We have to go out there and start solving the problems. We have to own the fact that climate change is real and accelerating, and just curbing our emissions is not going to be enough. So these are some of the plans that we have to take to the rest of America as soon as possible. I want to talk a little bit about the state of the race. Right now I'm in 6th place nationwide in the polls. And I am one of only 2 candidates in the entire field that 10% or more of Donald Trump voters said they would support, which means if I am the nominee, we will win. This is what the rest of America has not figured out that you all have figured out, that I am the best candidate to take on Donald Trump and beat him in 2020. And that is the #1 question Democrats have, is beating Donald Trump. They have not figured out that I'm that guy yet, but we're going to tell them, are we not, Philadelphia? The reason why I am going to be the candidate to beat Donald Trump, and my name, Andrew Yang, Andrew Yang, Andrew Yang, Andrew Yang, Andrew Yang, Andrew Yang, Andrew Yang. I love you too, Philadelphia. The reason why I am the best candidate to beat Donald Trump is that we are building a coalition of disaffected Donald Trump voters, libertarians, independents, and Democrats and progressives. We can take this message to the rest of the country and let them know it is not left, it is not right, it is forward. That's what we're going to bring the country in 2020. I wasn't done, it's cool. We know what happens when I'm done. I'm going to let them know. We have to tell the big story to the American people. If you look back on 2016, Donald Trump said to America, we're going to make America great again. And what did Hillary Clinton say in response? America is already great. And that did not work out. We have to own the severity of the problems, but we have to present real solutions. Donald Trump got some of the problems right, but his solutions were garbage and nonsense. What were his solutions? We're going to build a wall. We're going to turn the clock backwards. We're going to bring the old jobs back. We have to do the opposite of all that. We have to turn the clock forward. We have to accelerate our economy and society as quickly as possible. We have to evolve in how we think about work and value. And I am the ideal candidate for this job because the opposite of Donald Trump is an Asian man who likes math. Thank you, Philadelphia. Hit my music. We're going to make America think harder. Am I right, Philly? Let's go. Let's take it all the way in 2020. Thank you. I love you guys.